So you're having issues coming up with a solution. So let's talk about what's happening and why it's so difficult. So your mind is unable to come up with a solution while in the state of the problem. You notice how when you're trying to come up with a solution, or you want a solution, or you're not happy with what you're going through, the problem comes up, and then another thought comes up that aligns with it, and then another thought jumps on its back, and then another thought jumps in the pocket of that thought, and then before you know it, you have a bunch of thoughts, and they're all going to the direction of the actual issue. Nothing feels like an actual solution, or at least a release in energy within, meaning that I'm not feeling any lighter, I'm not feeling any more relief, like it's just not happening. Your mind has a way of wanting to protect itself. It wants to protect you. So it takes this current situation as a threat. So every thought about it is going to be in the field or in the realm of this being a threat. So it's not going to come up with a solution to it. This every thought that you have is going to be aligned and wrapped up, entangled within that same issue. So how do we get out of that? How do we get out of that state and into a state that a solution has a better chance of actually presenting itself? So we have to create some distance between ourselves and the situation. So it's weird because it kind of works in different ways depending on the emotional state that you're in. So you have a guy by the name of Dr. Hawkins. He was the guy in the wheelchair. So he came up with a scale, right? This emotional scale, it pretty much lets you know where you're sitting at energy-wise. Picture this scale being like a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid are lower emotional feelings. The higher the pyramid, the higher emotional feelings. The lower emotional feelings are feelings of depression, the feeling of deep sadness, the feelings of regret. The higher side, or the top of the pyramid, is feelings like bliss, happiness, joy, peace. So while you're thinking about the issue, you're ranging at the bottom of that emotional scale. So if you are feeling feelings of despair and depression and regret, those are more so at the bottom. They're lower. What we're looking for is at least a mid-level feeling state, a neutral state, if you will, a state where you're good either way. And being good either way means that you don't accept either way as being that's what you want. You accept either way as being I don't want to say acceptable outcome, but it's an outcome that, guess what, is out there. That is a possibility. So that's what you're agreeing to. That's all you're agreeing to. You're not agreeing to the fact that, oh yeah, I gotta like that, or I want it, or that's what I desire. No. You're just saying that, yep, I can see a world in which that outcome is true. I can see that. And then you just stay there. Now you're neutral. You're not fighting it. You're not fighting against it. You're not fighting for it. You're neutral. Now, that's why it's important to understand where you're at. So if you're at despair, as you get higher up, anger is a little bit higher than despair and those deep levels of sadness. So I would say do what you need to do to get yourself up to that higher, or at least, well, higher part of the scale. But you're shooting for neutral. You're not shooting for bliss. You're not shooting for elation or extreme happiness. You're shooting for neutral. All right? So once you get to that neutral state, you just kind of sit there. You sit there. You don't try to force any thoughts of a solution or a resolution to appear. You don't do any of that. You just allow yourself to be there. Allow yourself to be neutral. Now that's if you're starting from deep despair, you're getting yourself to being angry. You know what, man, screw that shit, man. Man, damn that shit that happened, blah, 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 this, that, and third. Now you get yourself to angry. Now from anger, now it's easier to get yourself to that neutral state. You're able to go from, because when you are extremely sad, that feeling is on yourself. That's the feeling that you feel about yourself. It's hard to get out of that state. It's hard to get out of that state to bliss, to happiness, to joy. It's extremely difficult. So I would say go to anger. Go to anger. Instead of being sad, be angry. Man, how the hell can that individual say that to me? So now you're there. You know, shifted your shit from being sad, depressed on yourself to now being angry at them. Now, from being angry at them, now it's easier to get to neutral because you're able to say, man, I can see why that individual's angry. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you're saying that it was the right thing to do or whatever. You're trying to get to that neutral state. That's your goal. So you get mad, man, how that individual can say that thing to me? Let yourself sit in that. Then guarantee you will be able to come up, well, I can understand why they said that. I can understand. So now that anger starts to kind of dissolve a little bit. And with that dissolving, you're able to rise up. You're able to float up to a higher emotional state. Now that state is going to be, now that's neutral. Now you're neutral. Okay, yep. All right, I can see. And then from there we do the necessary work to get to the higher states. Try it out.